This is one comparison that's bound to confuse a lot of you out there because I'm talking about two cars that share the same engine, the same gearbox, and they're priced almost the same. But they're meant for completely different kinds of buyers. Here I'm talking about the Hyundai Alcazar and the Kia Carens Clavis. On paper, both of these cars are powered by the same 1.5-litre turbo petrol engine that makes 158 brake horsepower and 253 Nm of torque, paired with the same 7-speed DCT gearbox. And when it comes to price, there's barely anything separating them. The Alcazar Signature costs 20.96 lakhs ex-showroom, and the Carens Clavis HTX Plus comes in at 20.71 lakhs. The price difference here is roughly 25,000 rupees. So, which one should you buy? Let's break it down step by step. Let's start with the basics, size and design. Now when you look at the numbers, these two are very close. The Carens Clavis is 4550mm long, 1800mm wide and 1708mm tall. The Alcazar on the other hand measures 4560mm in length, 1800mm in width and 1710mm in height. So the Hyundai is just 10mm longer and 2mm taller, practically identical. Where things get slightly different is in the wheelbase. The Carens Clavis has a wheelbase of 2780mm while the Alcazar sits on a 2760mm wheelbase. So the Clavis actually has 20mm more between the wheels, and that translates into slightly more cabin room, especially for the second and third rows. The fuel tank is a bit larger on the Alcazar at 50 litres compared to the Clavis's 45 litres, while the boot space is 216 litres in the Clavis versus 180 litres in the Alcazar. Design-wise, these two couldn't look any more different. Now, the Alcazar is clearly the more SUV-looking thing of the two. I mean, it's got a lot more commanding stance on the road. It's got a high bonnet, longer overhangs, and larger 18-inch wheels. Now, if you want your vehicle to look more SUV-like and you want that strong road presence, then this car fits the bill better than the Clavis. Now, the Clavis, on the other hand, it is obviously the more MPV of the two. It's got that MPV silhouette. By that I mean it's got a large glass house, smaller 17-inch wheels and shorter overhangs. So overall, the Clavis is the MPV of the two, and the Alcazar has got that SUV-like design elements that a lot of you like. The focus here is more on practicality than presence, but here Kia has added darker elements, new LED lighting and some black cladding that do make it look a bit tougher and more stylish. So design-wise, it's quite simple. The Alcazar is for those who want that SUV form factor, whereas the Clavis, well, it prioritizes space and practicality. Step inside and you will immediately notice the difference in philosophy. The Clavis is built to maximize space. Now, because of its MPV-like architecture and a slightly longer wheelbase, this cabin feels nice and airy. You also get large windows, and compared to the Alcazar, there is slightly more headroom and legroom all around. Now, this middle row, the second row, especially in this 6-seater format with the captain seats, well, it's really spacious and comfortable. The third row on the Carens Clavis is also significantly more usable than the Alcazars. Speaking of space and comfort, I am more comfortable in this row compared to the other car. There is that greater sense of space. The under-thigh support is also much better on the Clavis than the Alcazar. Of course, there are some differences. In this car, you get the air vents up on the roof, whereas on the Alcazar, they are on the side. And interestingly, the lower speed control, well, in the Alcazar, it's here in the third row, whereas in the Clavis, it's in the second row. For the second row passengers, well, they can control the lower speed, and not me sitting in the third row. Also, the access to this seating is much better on the Clavis because of the wider opening and this clever single touch seat operating mechanism, which folds the seat down neatly and gives you a lot of space and access lot of space and a much better access to the third row. So if you want a family car where all the 3 rows and all the 6 seats will be used quite regularly, then clearly the Carens Clavis makes more sense of the two. But if you're someone who will be using the first 2 rows for the most part, and this third row every once in a while or quite rarely, then the Alcazar is also a good fit, and it shouldn't be much trouble to have 6 people in the Alcazar as long as you don't do it frequently. In comparison, the Alcazar isn't bad at all, but by that I mean the first 2 rows. Now, as you can see, space is tight in this third row. I don't have a lot of room to move around as compared to the Clavis. So the sense of space in Clavis is much better than this car. Also, the lack of under-thigh support is quite alarming, and it is something that will be a deciding factor for a lot of people who would buy either this car or the Clavis. So overall, the third row seating in the Clavis is much more accommodating. It's much better than this car, and if you're someone who's going to be using the third row a lot, then this car might be a bit of a struggle. Now let's talk comfort, and this is where things start to tilt a little in Hyundai's favor. Take the front and the second row seats for instance. In terms of pure comfort and seating support, I do feel these seats are better than the Clavis, and you also get more features, especially in the second row. Starting with these captain seats, well, these are ventilated seats. You can cool them, and also you get an adjustable under-thigh support, which is a neat little touch. And here's one more thing. The Alcazar also comes with something called as electric box mode, wherein I can adjust the front seat simply with the touch of a button. Now this is a neat feature, and it will come in handy when you're being chauffeured around. The Carens Clavis misses out on both of these features. Although the middle seat is extremely spacious and comfortable, it isn't ventilated. And this front passenger seat, it doesn't get electric adjustment either. Up front, both cars have power adjustable driver's seat, but the Alcazar goes a step further by offering power adjustment for both front seats and even a memory function for the driver's seat. The Clavis only gets 4-way electric adjustment for the driver and no memory function. So in terms of seat comfort and adjustability, the Alcazar is more luxurious. That said, the Clavis's cabin is larger and airier, so it ends up feeling more relaxed over long drives. So it's comfort versus space really, and your choice depends on what matters to you more. Visually, the Alcazar's dashboard looks richer and more cohesive. The layout is more aesthetic and the colors add to that premium vibe. But when you touch and feel the surfaces, the Clavis actually uses more soft touch materials. That said, the Alcazar's plastics, though a bit shinier, feel slightly nicer to the touch overall. The Carens Clavis's interior meanwhile feels well built and solid, but not as rich as the Alcazar's. So the Alcazar wins on visual appeal, whereas the Clavis scores better when it comes to practicality and that tactile feel that you get from the switches, especially on the steering wheel and on the center console. Both these cars are loaded with features, which is why they are such good value for money. However, you will realize the differences once you dig into the details. So let's start with the screens. The Carens Clavis gets dual 12.3-inch digital displays, one for the instrument cluster and one for the infotainment system. The interface is sharp, the animations are smooth, and it all feels very high-tech. The Alcazar, on the other hand, has 10.25-inch screens for both the driver display and the infotainment system. They work great, but the Clavis's larger dual-screen setup definitely has the visual advantage. However, when it comes to features, the Alcazar strikes back. It gets dual-zone climate control, wireless charging pads for both first and second rows, ventilated middle row seats, electric adjustment for both front seats, and a memory function for the driver. The Clavis gets single-zone climate control, and it uses a unique touch panel that you can configure to operate the AC and the infotainment system. The Clavis does have a few cool tricks though, like a factory-fitted dual-view dash camera, and its ambient lighting setup is brighter and far more customizable than what you get in the Alcazar. Both cars come with a panoramic sunroof, automatic lights and wipers, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, 6 airbags, ABS, EBD, and child seat mounts. Of course, there's level 2 ADAS systems as well. Both also get an 8-speaker Bose audio system. So in short, the Clavis may seem more high-tech. I mean, it's got larger screens, brighter and more configurable ambient lighting system, and of course, a dash cam. The Alcazar, on the other hand, well, it feels richer in terms of its execution. It's got better comfort-based features, and it's also got a more convenient cabin, again, purely in terms of features. Now, since both these cars share the same 1.5 litre turbo petrol engine and the same 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, well, the difference in performance isn't that huge. But that's not the full picture. Both produce 158 bhp and 253 Nm and both use the same DCT. But the Alcazar weighs slightly more compared to the Clavis. That's just a 20 kg difference, but it's enough to make the Clavis feel a touch lighter on its feet in everyday city driving. Out in the real world, both these cars deliver strong and effortless acceleration, whereas the tuning on the gearbox is also identical, which means the gear shifts are equally smooth, they are equally quick and seamless. That being said, I do feel the Alcazar feels more eager to get off the line. It feels slightly more responsive when you're doing city speeds, low to medium speeds, although that I believe is because of its sportier throttle calibration. Overall, what I mean is that this car feels more responsive when you want it to. We tested both these cars in real-world conditions and here's what we found. In the city, the Alcazar returned 7.9 kmpl, while the Carens Clavis did slightly better at 8.75 kmpl. On the highway, the Alcazar managed 15.82 kmpl, while the Clavis returned 15.04 kmpl. The Alcazar's trip computer displayed 8.7 kmpl in the city and 15.7 kmpl on the highway, while the Clavis trip computer showed 8.9 kmpl in the city and 16.5 kmpl on the highway. So in short, the Clavis has an edge when it comes to city mileage, whereas the Alcazar, well, it does slightly better on the highway. So this is where the differences start to appear between both the cars when you are behind the wheel. Starting with the Carens Clavis, with this car feels more easygoing, it feels more relaxed than the Alcazar, and that's mainly because of the excellent visibility that you get from these large windows and the upright seating. The Clavis, for the most part, it feels very easy to drive in traffic because of the way it rides. The ride quality is very supple at low to medium speeds when you are driving in the city, and that's a good thing if you are going to be carrying your family with you all the time. It's only when you take it out on the highway after you have loaded up the car with passengers and their luggage, well, that's when the suspension tends to feel a little bouncy over uneven roads, although that's not a major concern. The Alcazar, on the other hand, well, it feels more planted and slightly more composed, although that's mainly down to its slightly firmer suspension setup, which gives you more confidence at highway speeds. The steering also feels a bit more direct and responsive as you go through the corners, and in this car you also tend to sit slightly higher, which adds to that SUV feel that a lot of you guys like. Overall, the Alcazar is the more engaging car to drive of the two, and it will give you that SUV like feel and feels more robust behind the wheel. But let me tell you, it's not a night and day difference between how the Clavis drives versus how the Alcazar drives. Both cars are refined and both have similar noise levels inside the cabin. So while the Clavis prioritizes comfort and ease of use, the Alcazar feels a touch more engaging to drive. So let's wrap this up. Now, both these cars are excellent products, and given how close they are in terms of pricing and specifications, it's very fascinating how differently they are positioned. Speaking of which, if you want a practical family car that's spacious, versatile and easy to live with, then the Carens Clavis is the one for you. It's got better access to the third row, more space overall, slightly better city efficiency and feels airy and relaxed. The features are just about right for a family-focused MPV, and the dash cam and twin screen setup give it a modern vibe. But if you want something that looks and feels more premium and comes with more features, the Hyundai Alcazar justifies that small premium of about Rs 25,000. It's got more features, a more SUV-like design, better highway manners, and overall it feels more special to drive and sit in. To put it simply, buy the Clavis if your priority is space, practicality, and versatility. On the other hand, you could buy the Alcazar if you want a feature-rich family SUV that's got a stronger visual appeal and a slightly more premium driving experience behind the wheel. So these two might share the same heart and price, but their personalities are vividly different, and that's what makes this comparison so interesting. So that's our detailed comparison between the Alcazar and the Clavis. Which one would you pick? The premium and stylish Alcazar or the more practical and spacious Clavis? Tell us in the comments below. And as always, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and make sure that you are subscribed to CarWale for more such comparisons. Thank you for watching.